Like the title says, this is a prezi comparing a colonist to my grandma and to me. Why? Because things change over time, and we need to understand what those changes are. After all, if the colonists who came over didn't want to change, we may still be over in Europe. Let's start. The time I chose for my colonial girl is 1663 through 1675. Even though the colony settled before that in 1636, I chose this time because it's a little bit more interesting. My grandma was a teen in 1946 to 1953, and I follow almost 15 years later in 2010 to 2018. The western two-thirds of Rhode Island is occupied by the New England upland. That's a rough hilly plateau marked by forests and lakes. The eastern one-third, however, is the seaboard lowland with sandy beaches, salt marshes, and rocky soil. Rhode Island was settled in 1636 by Roger Williams. He was a priest in Massachusetts, but was exiled for his somewhat relaxed views on religion. Because of that, he founded Rhode Island as a colony for his religion, baptism, that also allowed religious freedom. Rhode Island was also the first colony to have separate church and state. My grandma and I were both born and raised in Iowa, just in different towns. She was born in Corwith, and I was born in Clear Lake. Corwith, Iowa is located on the Boone River and has a total area of 1.6 square miles and is surrounded by a lot of farmland. Clear Lake also has a lot of farmland, but has some other things that sets us apart from every other Iowa farm town. First off, we have the lake, which is a big tourist attraction and allows sailing regattas, which helps boost the economy. We also have the Surf Ballroom. That's the place where Buddy Holly, J.P. Big Bopper Richardson, and Richie Valens all played their last concert. One thing that has changed over time is music. Music in colonial times was primarily religious. They didn't use anything like organs for accompaniment because they were thought to be unnecessary or were too expensive. The colonists also didn't approve of singing in harmony or professional singers, which is odd considering this is basically how we sing today. What my grandma listened to was closer to our music now, except for the style. She listened to people like Buddy Holly, Elvis, and all the other rock and rollers. Now we have a multitude of styles and artists. We have rappers like Eminem and Kanye West, to pop artists like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, and others like Adele, LMFAO, and Rihanna. We all have chores, but they've gotten progressively easier over time thanks to modern technology. I only have to do the occasional dishes, vacuuming, and laundry. My grandma didn't get off that easy though. She had to get up and gather the eggs and feed the chickens every morning. In the fall, she had more to do. After harvest, she would have to go out and pick up any cord left in the field. She also had to help her mom make meals for the hired help. Even my grandma had it easy compared to colonial kids. Every day they had to look after animals, gather berries, and watch younger kids. Girls had to do even more chores added on to those. They had to make clothes, soap and butter, cook, garden, clean the house, be a nurse when someone was sick, and carry laundry out to the river, wash it, and then carry it all right back. Be thankful we don't have to do that anymore. Most kids were taught to read because their parents wanted them to be able to read the Bible. Poorer children were taught by their mothers or went to a dame school where women taught them the alphabet using the Bible and taught them how to read. Wealthy children went beyond that to learn writing and arithmetic, but to go beyond that was a privilege only held by boys. Now we go to school 5 days a week and learn English, math, science, social studies, art, family consumer sciences, music, gym, tech ed, and a lot of other electives. Taught by certified teachers who know what they're teaching. My grandma also had that privilege. She just had typing and no chemistry in high school. I've talked about differences, now it's time to talk about something that stays the same all throughout time. Change. A change that a colonial Rhode Islander would have had to gone through at the time I chose would be King Philip's War. King Philip's War started in 1675 when the Wampanoag Indians killed a farmer's cattle and he responded by killing one of their braves. After that, fierce battles took place in Bay Colony towns, Plymouth, and Connecticut. The tribes terrorized the colonists in these areas. After many battles, including the Great Swamp Massacre and a battle in Providence, the Indians couldn't keep fighting because of lack of men. And even though there was a lot of fighting, many Rhode Island colonists were not hurt. They fled to nearby islands for safety. But even though most weren't hurt or killed, it would have taken a lot of courage to pack and leave their home for a safer place. A change that affected both me and my grandma was college. We were just affected in different ways. The way college affected my grandma's life was when she had to go. She had never been away from home for very long, but she had to go because it was expected of her. She went for 1 year and then came back to Clear Lake and got a job at Stillman Law Firm, where she still works today. College affected me when my sister had to leave to go. It was hard because she was always there to help me when Mom couldn't or would be no help with the problem I was facing. I felt and thought that since we fought a lot, she'd leave and would never come back. I found the courage to get through this when I found out she would still be visiting, so I would still get to see her. In 1640, 4 years after it was originally settled, the colonists in the two settled Rhode Island towns formed their government. It was decided they would have a governor, a deputy governor, and 4 assistants run. Half of the people came from one town, and the rest came from the other. Later on, they got a charter, but when King Charles II took throne, they had to get a new one. The charter was approved on July 8, 1663, and stated they would be run by a governor, a deputy governor, and 10 assistants, elected from each town. It also said that no person could be punished for their religion, and there would be separate church and state. The government is now run by the 3 different branches: executive, judicial, and legislative. Each branch has equal power, so no single person has all of the power. The differences between now and Grandma's time, though, are the problems we face and the presidents that were in office. The president in office when my grandma was a kid was Harry Truman. The current president is Barack Obama. He is the first African American to be elected president. Some political issues we are currently facing are the presidential race, the country's economy, and the lack of jobs. So what does all this information mean? It's just a way of showing how things have changed over time. I hope you remember most of the information I talked about. But if you don't, just remember this. A lot of things have changed since colonial Rhode Island and modern-day Iowa. But if it wasn't for those colonists wanting freedom and change and having the courage to seek it out, we may not have the tech we have today. And personally, I don't know how we'd make it without it.